Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another video of Green Square Talks Battlebots, the first episode review of Battlebots 2021. Alright, I'm in the Green Square, and co-hosting here, Civilian Arc is up top, Pory Nog right below me, and making his very first appearance on Green Square Talks Battlebots, Spin Doctor is down below. And then he'll be coming in a little later, but Oblivion Prime will be joining us too to share a lot of his opinions on this episode. So, how's it going, all of you?
I'm doing chill. I've been doing stuff, I've been fucking hating puberty, getting all this acne.
Of course, that's the first thing you talk about.
Bro, I'm old and I still got I got a zit on my nose, bro. I shouldn't be
I
getting them
hate
anymore.
I hate how all the zits are on the nose. They're just at such dumb angles.
Yeah, and then when you try to pick it off, it hurts really bad and bleeds everywhere. I was
Yeah.
bleeding at the dirt mall yesterday because I picked it off my nose because I looked like Gargamel from the Smurfs, and I was like, I don't want this, and now it's bleeding, and it sucked.
Now I'm
But
just
it's okay,
thinking of poor.
Japanese food after.
Enough of
I'm
that.
just thinking of Pory. Now I'm just thinking of Pory running after small blue people.
It's gonna happen.
How's it going, Spin, down below? I can't hear you. I think.
Pretty good, all
there
things
we go.
considered.
I can hear him.
Shoot.
I did now.
Oh, is it good?
Yeah, you're
Is
good,
it?
Spin.
Oh. Okay. Pretty good, all things considered. No comment on that acne situation.
You know how it is.
Yeah, you already know what it is.
Spin, how's it feel to be winning King of Draft right now?
Yeah,
how
does it feel? Because you benefited the most. I got a bunch of points out of this episode too, and then Pory and Civilian got some too. I'm not sure about Oblivion. I don't remember who all is on his roster. Or Pory might know.
His bots fought.
But
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty good. I honestly just really lucked out with having 4 bots on one card.
Yeah.
That was big.
But yeah, if
hopefully
this
I
is
have some bots on the next card.
But yeah, if this is your first time watching one of these episode reviews, basically how this is gonna go is start off with a fight card here, where basically I'll introduce that to kind of like what I did with the episode predictions podcast, but probably gonna keep that short. Then we're gonna go through each fight one by one, discuss it, share our opinions on it. I might have a question or two to ask on each fight, and so on. But yeah, there's gonna be no video clips on this one as usual and stuff, just because it reduces the amount of editing work I gotta do with it because I am a college student and stuff, so it saves me a lot of time. And as well, because even though I think I'd probably get away with it, I don't want to have to deal with copyright or anything like that. So, but yeah, this should definitely be a fun one because lots of stuff happened in this first episode, so there's a lot to discuss here. This will definitely be a fun podcast, and yeah. So yeah, we got the first fight card here. Definitely, there were lots of terrific fights on here, at least in my opinion, because I know we got one person here who wasn't a big fan of all the fights here, and we know he's gonna be going on and on about it in this.
I will discuss why I wasn't a fan of all the fights in each fight, so yeah.
Yeah. And then we're going to end it. Basically, one other new thing I'm planning on doing here is I have power rankings at the end where I'm going to where I'm going to rank the robots so far. It'll eventually get to be where I'll put out a top 32 and so on. And yeah. So now we are leading off the season with Sawblaze versus Minotaur here. And man, this was a banger fight and stuff. Yeah. We got to see Minotaur back for the first time since 2019, who is the robot that I'm predicting to win it all, even though they did kind of go out with the loss and stuff. But it was a terrific fight, in my opinion. So yeah, we saw a few big hits from Minotaur, and then Sawblaze scooped up Minotaur, and the bloodbath began. But gotta give credit to Minotaur for surviving the whole 3 minutes and so on. But I'll go ahead and bring it to you guys from the co-host. Thoughts on this fight? And I see Pory's showing off the Sawblaze Hex bug. And Civilian's got his right up there.
I'm so jealous of your hex bugs.
Hey, I got the new arena. Check this out.
I didn't get the arena yet, but I got Whiplash and Sawblaze. I'm happy.
Two Tombstone hits hard as fuck.
Well, yeah, what are you guys' thoughts and opinions on this fight then?
Civilian, you go first.
Yeah, this will be good.
Okay, yeah, this will be fun. Okay, so first, right out of the gate, I do not dislike this fight. I actually find this a pretty good opening season fight. I don't think it's as good as something like Blacksmith versus Bite Force was, but I do find it better than Sawblaze's last two season openers, at least in my opinion. While I did like some of the shots that were handed out by Sawblaze, this fight wasn't particularly close. Minotaur did deliver like two pretty decent shots at the beginning, but other than that, this fight was all Sawblaze. Now, I will say one thing I really loved about this fight is that it made me hate the upper deck less than I hated it before the season started. So, I mean, that's a somewhat cool part. But yeah, I'm kind of a fan of more double-sided fights, and this fight wasn't really double-sided after, say, the first third of the fight, because after that, it was pretty much Sawblaze guaranteed dub at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun fight for sure. I mean, I thought it was the best opener fight of any season in Battlebots. Honestly, like it just had, a fight doesn't have to necessarily be double sided for it to be good, but I thought it was a very fun fight, and I wasn't one of those like people, one of those favelas who was like I hate the shelf without even like giving it a shot, like 99% of the BattleBots community. So I actually was going into the upper deck with positive thought on it. But that said, I hate the name upper deck because that's like when you take like the top off of a toilet and you like poop in it and then like you flush it and like beef stew comes out. That's what upper decking is. So that's what I think of whenever I think of the name. And
Weirdo.
what? That's a thing. Look it up. But
why would I look that up?
It is true, Civilian. That really is.
It's a thing. Yeah,
that is
it's
thing.
upper deck. But that said, the shelf I feel adds an interesting dynamic, especially if robots can like just drive up on it and like get all chaotic. It was I think they made it the first fight of the season for that reason as well. Plus Sawblaze, but it was a fun fight. I mean, that lipo snipe was brilliant, honestly, and Sawblaze drove that like a champ. But Minotaur got that really good hit in the beginning that I was like, oh crap. But one thing, you know what? I know this is your podcast screen, but we're calling people out. Fuck that guy who made that stupid YouTube video analyzing the trailer and made the thumbnail like, oh yeah, Sawblaze beats Minotaur. Whatever that guy's name is, fuck you. You're a dickhead. Your channel sucks, and you have a small penis. Thank you. Spin. Your turn.
I mean, I like double-sided fights as much as the next guy, but like in terms of spectacle, this was amazing. You have Minotaur, I think, breaking Black Dragon's being on fire record, and you have Sawblaze just cutting through the top of Minotaur's armor just like butter. Its drive up the shelf was amazing. That made me like the shelf more than I hated it on later in the episode, honestly. It was just really awesome to see. I did not know bots could just go up the screws and onto the shelf that easily.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, some of my thoughts on it, like, this was an awesome fight. I thought this was an absolute banger. This was actually my favorite fight of the entire episode. And this is coming from the person whose champion he predicted came out 0-1 in this one, because I was predicting Minotaur to win this fight, but that unfortunately did not happen. What's up, Pory?
What? Oh no, I'm just messing with the new microphone I found at the thrift store yesterday.
Gotcha. But yeah, we saw Minotaur get a few banger hits right at the beginning, and looking at Sawblaze's damage report, those hits did actually cause quite a bit of damage to Sawblaze's forks, as a few of those outer forks were messed up. But yeah, they did their part, because Sawblaze did come in, because you might notice that Sawblaze didn't come in with 2 middle forks, like what you saw on like the team picture and stuff on the Battlebots site. But Sawblaze actually built up the armor on those outer forks and stuff, came in with more bulkier stuff, but then for weight reasons they had to remove one of the middle forks. And I think they did their job very well in this fight. Sawblaze proved that they are really durable robot to take on such a high-powered drum spinner like Minotaur and be that durable. And like Spin said, we saw a battery fire like 30 seconds into this fight after Sawblaze sniped Minotaur's lipo battery there, but Minotaur was able to keep moving, mostly because they got redundant batteries, basically meaning they have another battery in there that was able to supply the power in order to keep Minotaur moving and keep their weapon going. But yeah, and then you'd notice Sawblaze lost their weapon later in the fight, as did Minotaur, and Sawblaze actually said that was because a few of the strikes on the back piece or the top piece of Minotaur, which is aluminum and why Sawblaze is able to get through it pretty easily, some aluminum curls actually got inside their chassis and managed to snap the weapon belt and stuff, which I personally didn't think that was what happened, because I thought Minotaur's drum spinner actually did it, because the shot that Sawblaze got on Minotaur that snapped the weapon belt was right on the weapon. But yeah.
So Maniac, what are you doing? You look like you're acting like the woe is me emote. You're like, ah.
Did Green just say chassis?
To be fair, I definitely used to call it that too, because I tend to learn my words more so from reading as opposed to
Yep.
Hearing it from people. And like, I mean, that's how the word looks. It looks like chassis, you know. Like I can't. I'm not gonna hate on it because my pronunciation sucks on most words, because that's just how I learn words by reading.
Yeah, on to my question for this: the judge's decision. How would you have scored it and stuff? Because I think the judges got this one right. But if you did happen to disagree with it, why? What I'm saying is, did you agree with the judge's decision and why?
I disagreed with it because I wanted Green to get some points in the fantasy league. You know.
Just so Ice Wave wouldn't get those points, Pory.
Yeah, I'm ahead of Ice Wave right now. So
yeah, same here.
For the first time in like a year, I'm beating Ice Wave squared in the thing. But I'm actually, the decision was right. Plus, Sawblaze, I like Sawblaze, so
Yeah, how I would have scored it would be probably damage Sawblaze 4-1.
Yeah.
Because Minotaur did get 2 decent shots on it, but after that it was all damage for Sawblaze. Control, pretty much clean sweep for Sawblaze. Minotaur got not really any control moments, except I guess if you count Minotaur flipping over Sawblaze as control, I guess you could say that Minotaur did some control, but even then I still think Sawblaze should sweep control. Aggression, probably Sawblaze 2-1, so that's like a 9-2 decision for Sawblaze.
Yeah, I'd probably be at like 8-3, 9-2, someone at Walmart.
I'd also go 9-2, same as Civilian. I might be tempted to give Sawblaze all the damage. Nah, actually, never mind. I forgot the Sawblaze weapon just snapped. So
yeah, that's the other reason I went 4-1 is because Sawblaze's weapon just casually just died.
Yeah, I also support the judge's decision, and I'm where Pory's at, where I gave Minotaur a damage point, aggression point, and a control point in there. I'm not sure if that's exactly how Pory distributed it, but that's how I would have scored
That's how I would.
But yeah, anything else on this fight, or should we get to the next one?
I think we're good.
I think I ranked Sawblaze in my power rankings. I have Sawblaze as number 1, and I think this fight is definitely shows how much Sawblaze can do. But now time to see it get fucked by the most destructive bot we see this season, much like every season when Sawblaze when it's open. Pory's gonna love that sentence.
Yeah, Ribbon's going all the way.
Yeah, Ribbot is gonna go all the way, Pory. It's gonna go all the way in the Battlebots series.
Oh yeah, you used that joke. What's that? The fourth time you used that joke? Ah! No, listen. Ribbon's
but it's
going
the
all the
first
way.
one.
We're taking out Sawblaze. We're taking out Minotaur. We're taking out Black Dragon. We're taking out Lockjaw. We're taking all y'all out.
Sure, keep telling yourself that, but yeah,
All the
that
way.
was a great fight. And gotta say, what's up with all the Brazilians being able to survive fires like that? Because we saw Black Dragon survive a fire against Ribbot, and Minotaur survived a fire against Sawblaze, and the fact that Sawblaze was actually still fighting while their opponent was on fire, while Black Dragon was chasing their opponent while on fire and stuff.
I don't want to hear it.
And yeah, but yeah, great fight. Too bad my champ ended up going down with a loss here, but either way though, it'll be great to see Minotaur and Sawblaze back for their second fight, whoever those will be. Next up, we got Uppercut and Gigabyte here, and man, this was another banger fight and stuff, because yeah. So yeah, we saw Gigabyte coming out with a really bit of a tall shell here, but did have quite a bit of power to it, as well as 3 wedge mini bots, which I believe their purpose was basically to take advantage of Uppercut's gyroscopic issues and high center it, line it up for an excellent shot from Gigabyte's full body spinner in one of Uppercut's vulnerable areas. But yeah, kind of like the Sawblaze and Minotaur fight, where we got to see a funny use of the shelf and stuff. We got to see another use of the shelf here that a few of us, I think a few of us are gonna be talking about here. And
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, you guys want to share your opinions on this fight?
Do you want me to go?
I don't care who goes first.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good fight. Gigabyte got a little sloppy there, like they had a chance to escape because I know half the Robot Combat community is being like, it's a shelf that did it, but like they had an opening, like they could have gotten out of there, but they didn't. But even then, I don't know. Well, they would have managed because I mean, Uppercut was messing them up pretty good, especially those post damage shots. It's brutal, but. It was a fun fight. There were a lot of nice hits. It was pretty brutal. Gigabyte with the D2 kits chilling. I respect it. I look forward to seeing their next fights.
I mean, this fight was just a spectacle to see. You have both bots getting really strong hits and just sparks everywhere. I mean, I wish it lasted longer with like how great this little snippet of a fight was, but Uppercut is just crazy and is like crazy powerful, man. There are holes in Gigabyte, and I kind of like what the shelf adds a little bit, and that's a hot take, but I like that adds another angle to the fight, like adds another way to take control, even if it's like such a big disadvantage to horizontals. I do like that it is like a strategy thing, not just put them there and then they lose, unlike the shelf.
Yeah, definitely. What do you got on this one, Civilian?
Okay, this is probably my favorite fight of the episode. Yeah, I'd say favorite fight. There was a lot of great banger shots by both Uppercut and Gigabyte. Both of them got some pretty decent shots in. About the shelf, I am fine with the shelf, but I feel like they should edit what happens with the shelf a little bit. What I feel should happen with the shelf is that it should still be there, but it should be kind of like it should it should I don't know how to explain this, but like the shelf should be lowered down for the first 2 minutes of the fight, and then once we get into the final minute, you can have the shelf be like what the shelf is supposed to be for the last minute of the fight, I guess. Maybe not. I guess what I'm trying to say is not have the shelf be the shelf the entire fight, I guess. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So you're just suggesting reverse pit?
Kind of.
Gotcha.
It's if you've ever watched Bashbots, the pit goes down in the last minute of the fight, so it's kind of like that, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, pretty decent fight. I have Uppercut as my number 2 in power ranking, so good job by Uppercut. Yeah.
But yeah, this was a banger fight. This was probably number 2 on my favorite fights list of this episode. But man, are these two monster robots. Like Uppercut with that vertical bar spinner and Gigabyte with that full body spinner. And now my opinion on this fight shelf wise, I'm kind of up and down with this one because one hand I did not like how Gigabyte got boxed in because of the shelf, but on the other hand, Pory is 100% right that I think John Bladnick was a little sloppy on his driving in this one because Uppercut actually had a really good shot to get out of there, but he decided he wanted to try to box Uppercut in, it looked like, into that area, and he ended up getting boxed in instead. But how about that second to last hit from Uppercut? Like, I shrieked, I won't lie, about that one in terms of like cheering after that hit and stuff. But
That was good.
yeah, Uppercut posted a post damage report and stuff, which is, yeah, the damage done was massive in this one. Because on one hand, while Uppercut had some minor internal, well, front wedge and weapon and damage to it, there were holes in the shell of Gigabyte after that fight. Like, after probably those last few hits. Like, that just proves how much of a monster Uppercut's weapon is. Because, wow, did it do some massive damage to Gigabyte. And yeah, this was definitely another really impressive victory for Uppercut. Gigabyte got some good hits in themselves in this fight, and so I wouldn't say this is exactly a bad loss for Gigabyte. Same thing with Minotaur in the previous fight, because I think they both put up a really decent fight in this one, even if like the driving was a little sloppy and stuff. So, anything else on this one, or should we get to the next battle?
I don't got much else to say. Uh, I I do find it funny that a full body spinner just brought like 3 wedge mini bots.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got the first fight where I got points from it in King of Draft and stuff. We got Gruff versus the one newcomer on this fight card, because I honestly was thinking we'd see more newcomers on this fight card, but no, we ended up just getting Switchback for this one. But no biggie and stuff, because Switchback is pretty awesome, and it's great to see a new design like theirs coming out here. And yeah, so coming into this one, Gruff announced a lot of their design changes and stuff, how they took off some weight in their forks and used that to like improve the durability of their drivetrain and their robot. And I think we got to see a lot of that stuff in effect for this one, and they took the fight to Switchback pretty well in here. But yeah, I'll go ahead and bring the floor down to you three. What do you three got in this battle?
I put a lot of faith in Switchback. I thought I was gonna do better than this. A little disappointed. I am happy to see the weapon works. Like, but its driving was so disappointing. It moved so slowly. Like
I
it's
think I know why that was the case though. I have a theory.
what was your theory?
So I'm not entirely sure about this, but I think Switchback might have some type of rubber wheels, and with those wheels provide some not great traction for on the battle box because the battle box has a very weird floor, right? It's kind of hard to get traction at some points. So like at some points you can see Switchback going incredibly slow, but at some other points you can see Switchback like revving up going speedy boy. So I think it was having traction issues with its wheels, but once it had some like clean surface to drive off of, it was driving fine.
I also said something else about Switchback. So there's a moment in the fight where Gruff was right behind Switchback, And I know Switchback isn't a hammer drum, and you probably shouldn't call them a hammer drum ever.
Yeah,
But
look
I
at
really
that.
wanted to go hammer drum. When Gruff was behind them, I really wanted them to just swing their drum back and just hit the top of Gruff. I was like waiting for it. I was like
Yeah.
so pumped to see it happen, but it did not.
Yeah, I got something
Yeah.
involving that, but I'll let you guys share your stuff
Um.
first.
Well, a response to Civilian Arc and Spin. Another thing to note also is the fact that like it's essentially a middleweight bot with another middleweight as the weapon, pretty much. Because like that weapon's gotta be over 100 pounds.
80
Like it's
pounds.
gotta.
80.
I mean,
80
with the arm and the motors in the arm
Oh,
though,
yes,
that's
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 true.
over 100. Like that's easily, that's probably close to half the weight of the whole bot. So it's basically a middleweight carrying another middleweight that's like swinging around on it. So it's like, it's not like Saw Blaze where it can just like, like wail on things. The Saw Blaze disc is what, like 50 pounds or something. And on top of that, the arm is a lot thinner. But yeah, that's a big thing. I think Switchback has a lot of potential, but I think the fact that it's kind of sluggish and it's not quite reliable yet, which can be, I mean, it's the first fight ever. Most robots don't do well in their first fight, and I mean, they did better than I thought they would. And then they also got like the gyro issues. But that said, Gruff did not impress me either, really, because maybe their weapon belt got sniped or something. But like, I was having flashbacks to like free shipping and Duck from season 4 here, because like they weren't able to lift Switchback at all, and past iterations of Gruff would have been able to with these.
Probably.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, you go ahead, Civilian.
Yeah, my main opinion on this fight is this is probably the worst fight of this episode in my opinion. And to be honest, I wasn't really expecting much out of this fight because Gruff had some of the lamest fights ever in 2020 with one of the worst main events ever and the worst 2020 postseason fight ever. So I wasn't expecting a ton out of this fight. Like, yeah, this wasn't a great fight just because neither bot really did much. Like Switchback ultimately kind of just did itself in because of that shot it got. So yeah, a very mediocre fight.
Yeah, in terms of my opinions, like I did like this fight, but yeah, there were definitely a few things I was a little disappointed about, but I still did enjoy this fight. I thought this was entertaining because we got to see some good hits from Switchback's drum spinner, as well as some good pushing and a few lefts from Gruff, but there were definitely a few concerns with this one because on one hand, like kind of like going back to Switchback and their weapon and stuff. What I did notice a few times was Switchback tried to lift their weapon up, and then it went up part ways and then stopped right there, and then they simply brought it back down. What I really hope to see Switchback do, this kind of goes along with what Spin Doctor said, because like what I was noticing was I think Switchback's wedgelets might have been lower to the ground than Gruff's forks, and we did see them get underneath Gruff, I think once in this fight. I think it would have been awesome to see if they could like get underneath Gruff and then drop that drum spinner from the sides of the wedgelets, but something was clearly not right with the arm, and it might go along with what Pory said, that the weapon and the system and stuff might just be too heavy for the robot potentially, but yeah, with Gruff, like definitely they I think they proved their durability. Of course, though, it was revealed in the opener for this episode that they're going to take on Cobalt, and that's going to be a real test of their durability. Just because
No shot.
Cobalt is an absolute monster with that weapon. But the big concerns I kind of have here is those forks. Like we know that Gruff took weight off of the forks in order to like improve that drive system and the durability and stuff, but the forks didn't exactly seem to have a lot of power to it. Like they did get a few lifts on Gruff, but it still seemed a little off. But yeah, and then the flames looked good, but I'm not sure how much damage they did to Switchback and stuff. I haven't seen a damage report from either teams though, so Oh, I could very well be wrong about that. And when Gruff torched Switchback while they were flipped over and getting counted out, that could have potentially caused some damage, but I'm not sure. So, all right. Anything else from you guys, or should we get on to the next battle?
I have two things.
Yep, go right
Did
ahead.
anyone? I have my first thing. Did anyone mention switchback self-writing? Because it did not self-write, but
Yeah,
it has been shown to self-write in the test box.
Yeah, that's kind of something else I was thinking too, because like yeah, we saw test videos where Switchback was able to
Oblivion.
self-write, but then yeah, that wasn't the case here, which is kind of why I'm wondering if something was maybe wrong with the arm. Keep going and spin.
My guess is I think a pulverizer hit hit the arm, and that's what killed it. But my second thing is, if we are talking future matchups, it was revealed Switchback fights Huge.
Yes.
I'm going Switchback because Switchback was designed to like counter Huge. Like its drum lifting up was meant to like attack something like Huge.
I mean, just because something was designed to counter something else doesn't mean it would be something else.
That's
Like,
an
I
interesting matchup.
That is
though.
actually a really good point.
I have a lot of faith in Switchback. That's my
I
only
mean,
reason.
like, all the robots in 2016 and 2018 were built perfectly to take on Tombstone, and barely any of them could. And
Well, wait. I don't think most of them were theoretically built in to
so they had
specifically take on
configurations
Tombstone.
perfectly built to take on Tombstone. A big,
Yeah, but
massive
I think that's just
yeah,
like
but a spinner on an
horizontal
arm is
counter.
like perfect.
Yeah,
It's
the
like a
whole-
perfect
the
counter to
concept
Huge.
behind
Like
Switchback was to
Yeah,
counter
but
something like
Switchback
Huge.
has shown before, I mean, in the Gruff fight at least, it does not have the best reliability. And Huge, in my opinion, arguably has the most reliable weapon in the entire field. I think it's probably the
Yeah, it
only
just
weapon
sucks
that
on
hasn't.
spinning up.
Because Huge's weapon, as far as I know, hasn't stopped even once in the last 3 seasons, which is a massive thing to say. And Switchback, on the other hand, has driving problems, gyro problems. Its drum is too heavy for its body, and its lifting arm, I mean, its drum arm at times even stops working. So I just don't see how it's going to contend with Huge that well. And I think as Huge isn't just reliable; it's also super durable. And Switchback, I don't see it getting enough reach really with that drum to like actually do a lot of damage to Huge. So yeah, I
well,
just
it
came
could
here and
do.
wondering why we're talking about Switchback versus Huge. And I see the picture of
I
Switchback
love
versus
how
Huge.
Oblivion joins and immediately shits on Spin's hopes and dreams of
Yeah,
Oblivion.
no, but hear me
beating
out on
Huge.
this. Hear me out on this. I mean, it doesn't. This has nothing to do with Huge's reliability, really, because Switchback is a small being. It's a tiny robot. Like, look at it compared to Gruff. Like, it's much smaller. Like, it could easily do what Whiplash did in its fight against Huge. Get there, make it so Huge's weapon can't spin up, and then just kind of like move its arm upwards and like mess with
Yeah, but
Huge's, as
Like
Green would say,
Switch
chassis.
apart from a
And
weapon, apart from a spinning weapon on an arm, Switchback and Whiplash are absolute polar
Yeah.
differences.
yeah, but
Like comparing them
Oblivion,
is
you're
just so.
kind of you're basing this off of literally one fight it's had, and the only thing that really went wrong was the fact that
Or
its
you.
arm was
Even before it
articulating.
went wrong,
Also, the drive. That was another thing that went wrong.
like Switchback isn't nearly as fast, maneuverable, well driven, durable, reliable as Whiplash. Like comparing Whiplash to Switchback
it's
and
more
saying it beat Huge is
powerful.
like no, it's like comparing
Is
Devil
Well, I'm
Switchback
not
more
Eggs. It's like
saying
powerful than
comparing.
Whiplash?
I'm not
Is
saying it's
it?
gonna
Yeah,
be.
okay,
It's
okay,
not gonna
okay.
perform as
Comparing
well as
Deviled
Whiplash.
Eggs
It has
to
more
theoretically
place.
beat
It has more
Tombstone.
surface area to hit with. All right, and Whiplash doubles as a lifter. Like its main thing is that it's a lifter and a spin. Like a spinner is secondary to the lifter. Where Switchback, its main thing is it's a spinner, but like it has the ability to move its arm.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
here's
here's the
Whiplash is two
thing.
Okay,
things.
we
It's
just
Switchback is one.
here's the
That's
thing.
the
Here's the
Whiplash. I'm
thing.
not saying it's gonna perform exactly like Whiplash. I'm just saying it would be wise to use that strategy of getting in between Huge's wheels so that its weapon can't spin up. I mean, you could put a rock in between Huge's wheels and it would eventually stop that spinner. It doesn't matter whether it's a good robot or not. If it gets in there, Huge isn't gonna be able
if
to
it
spin
gets in
up.
there, Switchback could leave with less power than it ended in. That's not the only way it could end. Just because you're
I'd
I mean,
being
probably.
huge
I'm
doesn't
gonna
mean you're
just
gonna
say
block it.
I'm just gonna say my opinion on what would happen if that fight happened. Switchback has not shown enough mobility to take on Huge, because one of the main things for taking on Huge is you have to be at least a decent enough driver to take on, to at least do good on huge, like Matt Vasquez and Whip, unless you have like an extremely destructive spinner, like say Ice Wave or Son of Waiachi.
I would call Switchback's spinner potentially destructive. I mean, more destructive than
It's not
Whiplash is a little
so
dinky
bad. It
thing.
got a bunch of hits on. Whiplash did more damage to Gruff than Switchback did.
Although don't forget that Gruff improved their durability by a lot this season and stuff. Is
But
the
do
thing,
we have any proof to base that off of?
What Gruff said before the fight began, and that was in their game plan type thing.
That's not much. That's a throwaway line in my opinion. Like that's a complete throwaway line. It says it's more durable. It is more. I mean, it could be more durable, but there's no proof saying it's so much more durable than last time that it can now withstand massive hits.
Well, they did weld more armor on. They welded these like bars onto like the wedge and stuff, so that Switchback wouldn't destroy it as much.
Either way, though, we're gonna get a real test of Gruff's durability in their next fight or their third fight potentially, because they're taking on Cobalt sometime soon.
No shot of them winning that.
Pretty sure.
In Annihilation, Gruff would fuck Cobalt up, but no shot in real life.
This isn't an inferior Robot Arena 2 video game, though. This is real life.
Look,
I'm sorry. I just loved talking about how bad Robot Arena 2 is.
Oblivion, are you paid by Robot Rumble 2 to shill it? Like we're playing this game and it's like lagging like a mofo, and you're like, this game is really good, and like I don't see it, man.
Maybe I am, maybe I'm not.
Go get that bag though. I respect it.
All right, let's go ahead and get to the next fight where we got Tombstone and Captain Shrederator here, and
redemption,
upset alert here.
Redemption, baby.
A few of us got points from that on King of Draft and stuff. So.
Spin, you predicted Shred, right?
I
predicted Shred. Let's go.
Shout out to
really
Spin.
badly wanted Shred to win. I
voted
for Tombstone. But I'm happy Shred won because it's about time. Shred has always been.
I'm happy. I'm happy Shred won too because I got 5 points out of that, so I'm tied for third because of that.
I lost 5 points because of.
Oh yeah, you have Shred on your team, don't you?
Yeah, he does. But
okay, well,
I did predict Tombstone to win this one, but yeah, I was actually going back and forth on this one, and almost always whenever I'm going back and forth like that, I'm going to get it wrong, but. No excuse.
I wanna say something.
Go ahead.
Civilian, Green, Oblivion. Remember a few days ago when y'all bet on Tombstone and you were like,
I got points out of it.
And you were like, Tombstone's gonna win this, and I was like, nah, I think Shred's gonna win. Same thing happened with Mr. Redman on the other podcast. He was like, no, there's no way that Shred's winning this. But you know what? Me and my boy Spin, we got this fight right.
Wait till we get to Jackpot and Deadlift, mister.
If Tombstone didn't randomly decide to smoke out in the first hit, he probably would have won this fight.
That's not exactly what happened, but I'll explain it and stuff. But
yeah, Green, explain it.
All right, here I'll explain. I'll explain this one. And so basically, what we ended up seeing was a few weapon-on-weapon shots at the beginning, and then we had one hit that actually ripped off a tooth on Tombstone's spinner, leaving their weapon unbalanced for the rest of the fight. And you could see after that fight happened, there was an entire tooth and a small amount more of the blade off on the robot. And then basically it was Tombstone and Rotator all over again, where the unbalance of Tombstone's weapon affected their internals and started a weapon fire and stuff. Pretty much what happened in the Tombstone Rotator fight, but actually quicker this time. And
I think Nick Nave posted a picture of the gifted broken tooth of Tombstone.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nick Nave.
Yeah, shout out to Nick Nave.
Tombstone's blade, apart from like very few times, is not snapped this easily. And snapping like the very first major hit, like that's only happened with Bite Force before. And that was after the bar already went through a lot of fatigue. So the thing is, Shred, I'm not disputing this, okay? Shred put up a really good performance. It was much more reliable than before. That being said, it still stopped spinning like a minute and a half into the fight. While Tombstone's blade normally lasts way longer. if Tombstone's blade didn't snap that easily, I can definitely see Tombstone winning this fight just because Shred stopped spinning later on. But I
Well, that's
don't
a
think
big if.
Tombstone would have stopped spinning later on if its spinner didn't break.
Yeah, I
Again,
mean
that
that's
being
a big
said,
if. Though. I don't know. I
again,
mean,
yeah, that's what that's the thing. Like that being said, my argument on why Tombstone could have won being said, Shrederator still put up a really good performance, and
Can I
it
have
showed
the
how
talking
durable and
punch?
reliable it is compared to last season. So I mean, in my opinion, even if they lose that remaining two fights, that is even if they go
they're
to
round
quantum
32,
two,
no question.
they're definitely in the
I,
round of
can
32.
can I go?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so here's my opinion. I don't think you guys are UFC watchers, so you probably
No,
won't
I'm not.
understand where I'm going with this. But I'm sure
Nope.
some of the viewers here are UFC watchers, or at least know some of the stuff that goes on in UFC. Tombstone now, putting aside fucking personalities, because the UFC equivalent is a piece of shit and he's so toxic. Um, Tombstone is the BattleBots equivalent now of Conor McGregor, where years ago, before Conor fought Khabib, Conor was a fucking beast. He took everyone out in less than one round. He had a ton of damage, and same with Tombstone before, say, season 5 of BattleBots reboot. So now Tombstone's just this where the magic is gone. Conor has no magic. Tombstone has no more magic. It's not a necessarily dated bot, but it's just
Everyone
not
knows
as
what to
good
do
as
now.
it. It's just, yeah, everyone knows what to do. Everyone knows how to counter Tombstone. Everyone knows how to counter Conor. They're the same thing.
Again, to
Yeah,
be fair, like you know how to counter Tombstone doesn't mean you can counter Tombstone. Every bot knows how to counter Tombstone,
but
but
Shred
very
did
few.
counter Tombstone.
Shred countered Tombstone by the virtue of being just a full body spinner, full body wedge.
Well,
And
the
I can
Does
see
fact
Shred
counter
also
winning.
that
though.
the full body spinner's cone shape too, which is actually really good
Normal.
for horizontal spinners and stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
so
yeah.
like Shred was probably one of the perfect counters for Tombstone either way. One thing about Tombstone, okay, while yeah, I mean yes, it has definitely become easier to beat or less reliable in ways since 2020, that is since season 5. I honestly still wouldn't rule them out from doing really, really well because
Oh yeah,
Tombstone.
they were my top 5 pick going into the season. I still have high hopes for them, but I
Yeah, I
mean,
would still say Tombstone makes at least a quarterfinal still. Again, like it seems to have a bit of like season 5 was the only season where Tombstone actually showed reliability issues for the first time. This I wouldn't say it's necessarily reliability, but rather the durability of the spinner. So I may be on a better path so far. I'm not really sure about that.
well, I
With
mean, I think Tombstone had drive reliability issues in the end game fight, and in all
Yeah, they
fairness,
did.
if it didn't have those reliability issues, it would have probably beaten end game.
Yeah, I can 100% see Tombstone beating Endgame in the rematch. I can see
Oh
Tombstone
yeah.
beating most spots. Like, unless it gets a really hard counter later on. It's Tombstone, it's making the bracket either way. Even if it goes 0-3, it's still probably making like a 32nd seed or something. Either
Considering
If
way,
that happens, I'm making a big stink about that. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, but
considering Bloodsport beat Endgame and Rotator should have beaten Endgame, I mean, I can see Tombstone beating Endgame.
yeah, like again, like even and I see Tombstone unless it gets like a perfect counter, easily making round of 16 quarterfinals. It can. I mean, it does have the potential to reach semifinals again. It's not going. I don't know if it'll necessarily win, but it definitely doesn't have the
I
same
don't
winning
think it can
potential
win.
just because of
yeah,
how much more durable other bots have gotten compared to 2016, 2015. Again, that being said, Tombstone could still do really, really well this season. It just started off with a small bump. You like Minotaur versus Tombstone in 2018. It started off with a bump, but then it made the finals. So,
yeah,
in spite of Tombstone not doing that well against Shred, I can 100% see it making even the semifinals.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. I have a few things I want to say. For one, Shrederator's making the round of 32. They could get blown apart in
Yes.
their next two fights. They're making the round of
Yeah.
32 with this
Oh
win,
yeah.
and
Oh
if they
yeah.
don't, that's
100%.
bullshit. But
Pop off, Pory.
second,
Pop off.
second, second, for one thing, Tombstone's next fight is probably going to end up being like fucking like
Shrederator should have
Voice
been around
Pony or
32
something.
last year.
Like they're gonna give Tombstone like someone like fucking easy as balls just so they can justify going into the round of 32 just in case like it loses to a competent robot after. So I mean, unless Tombstone somehow loses to the gimme fight, because let's be real, they're gonna get a gimme fight. They did last year, and Battlebots likes to play favorites.
It would be hilarious if Tombstone's gimme fight ends up like Bronco versus free shipping.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fight. It's gonna be a fight like that, like a fight where they think that it can't possibly lose, like they do it with everyone. Witch Doctor versus Kraken. Sometimes it goes wrong, and the robot ends up actually losing that fight. But the point is, they're gonna end up. Tombstone's gonna make the round of 32. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't really agree that they're gonna make the semifinals because, Deadlift, Smee, Ribot, we're going all the way, and shut up, Civilian Dark. I don't want to hear it. But my point is that robots know how to counter Tombstone. Shrederator did a good job, and people don't give Shrederator enough credit. This is redemption, baby.
You got anything on this fight, Spin? Because I don't think we've heard too much from you.
Okay. Did we actually like talk about, or at least go into like some sort of great detail about the giant fireball that ended up being Tombstone? Like this fight.
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit, but yeah, go ahead, keep going, add to it.
Yeah, because like this fight was just such a big spectacle. This is my second favorite fight of the night, behind Sablblaze and Minotaur, purely because it was just so awesome and amazing to see. You have Shrederator, what, like 313 bot before this, beating up Tombstone, like an S tier bot, former champion, the most feared bot in the competition, and you see Shrederator turning Tombstone into just like a marshmallow on fire, man. Like that was insane. That was like the most ecstatic I've been this whole episode. But as a fight, it's just not as good as Sablblaze versus Minotaur.
Yeah, like it's kind of crazy because like the fire was bigger than the fire that we saw when Tombstone fought Rotator back in 2019, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, we did notice that Captain Shrederator's weapon did stop. Oblivion did mention that and stuff. I believe Nick Nave writes the damage reports and stuff for Captain Shrederator, and they did write one for this. Apparently, one of the weapon-on-weapon shots between Tombstone and Captain Shrederator actually blew up one of their receivers inside, which cut off power to their weapon for a safety reason. And supposedly that might have been why also that they supposedly temporarily lost drive and stuff a few times throughout that. That was a little noticeable to me, but the fact that it was so quick, I wasn't sure if it was like a drive issue or if they were just hoping that like Tombstone was going to stop moving and stuff until they eventually did or something like that. But yeah, you kind of get the idea. So, anything else on this fight, or should we get to the next one?
I think we can move on to the next one.
All right, let's go ahead.
This is a long one.
Yeah.
Wait, I need to talk about why I found the fight mediocre.
All right,
no.
why did you find the fight mediocre before we get to this banger of a fight?
It wasn't.
Shit, here we go again.
It wasn't. It was the second best fight, probably. If they didn't lose their weapon so early, though, I probably would have liked it more because I wasn't a fan of how both weapons kind of just died 30 seconds into it. But SOCKS, which is Spanish for "it is what it is."
All right, now. So then on to this fight, we got blacksmith and free shipping. And so I just want to say first that I'm so glad to get to see both of these robots back. Because like on one side we got blacksmith debuting a new weapon to their robot that they call a power hammer and stuff. I'll go along with Alkindle and go ahead and call it a power hammer and stuff, even though I was always calling it a hammer saw prior to this, but whatever. That's fine by me. And then on the other side, we got, well, it's free shipping and stuff. And free shipping, we've always seen entertaining bouts from them. Either some pretty powerful victories, or they die in the blaze of glory and stuff. But yeah, this was an interesting fight. I'll go ahead and bring the floor to you guys on this one.
Yeah, I have like two major things on this fight. Two probably controversial-ish things. Like number one, I think I was pretty disappointed with Blacksmith in this fight. Like honestly,
Facts, my boy.
like Blacksmith has always been this amazing, fiery, aggressive bot his hammer really worked for it. And I thought his hammer saw would do really well as too, but in this fight, it was just so like Blacksmith kept overturning and kept doing it. It overturned worse than Bronco at times. Al Kimmel just couldn't get to the sides. It just went head on head. It got out wedged. It got pushed around, and even its hammer saw did like zero damage. It got like scratches on Free Shipping's wedge, which I'm not saying is bad because Free Shipping's wedge is pretty tough. But after seeing something like Sawblaze versus Minotaur, Blacksmith's hammer saw was so tame. It kind of left me with an air impression.
Well, I mean, I don't think Blacksmith could ever even equate to Sawblaze levels of power.
I mean,
Like
true.
Sawblaze without a doubt is the most destructive hammer saw and will always be it. Scorpios will never come close. Blacksmith will never come close.
I mean, yeah, true, but even then, like seeing Blacksmith not get a single amount of direct damage, like I did see free shipping throwing out a chain, the weapon chain or something. I'm not sure what chain it was, but
Lifter chain.
it wasn't directly related to Blacksmith's hammer saws as far as I know.
Can I go?
I'll go. I want to go. It was a very fun fight, despite the fact that I sponsor free shipping. I definitely feel that Blacksmith 100% won that. It was a fun fight. It was lots of fire. It was hectic, and I don't know. There's not much to say. It was a good fight. You know.
I think this is gonna get me a ton of hate comments. Honestly, I don't care. Come the fuck at me if you want to, but whatever. This was a subpar fight.
Thank you, Civilian.
I see it.
In my opinion, a subpar. This is a very mid-tier free shipping fight. I don't know how anyone can say that this was even close to a good free shipping fight in a billion fucking years.
Well, that's because free shipping's a high bar, dude.
This wasn't even a good Blacksmith fight, if I'm being
That's a high bar too.
Both these
when you see Blacksmith free shipping, you expect these amazing fights, and this was just so average of a fight.
Yeah, this was such a mediocre fight, and
I thought it was a good
also,
fight.
also I love how Al Kindle says that Blacksmith has KO power now, and then it just casually sets itself on fire. That was also pretty fun. Yeah, very mid-tier fight in my opinion. And yeah.
All right, what do you got on this one, Spin Doctor? Before I get to my little analysis of this.
I mean, I had some fun with this, but like compared to my favorite or just some of the other free shipping and Blacksmith fights, it was like below average for these two bots. I like the direction they're taking Blacksmith, but I do miss the old hammer and how aggressive it was.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but just I think the reason why people really like this fight because you have the spectacle of just having two really entertaining bots just come at each other with fire and aggression, and that was amazing. And then both of them lost their weapons, and then I agree with Civilian now.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I liked this fight. I thought this was a pretty awesome fight, but the thing I gotta disagree with is the fact that I don't think you guys saw some of the pictures Blacksmith posted on Facebook recently.
Why would I look at Facebook? BattleBots Facebook has some of the most toxic shit ever. Why would I do that?
It's true.
Blacksmith actually did quite a bit of damage that I did not notice and stuff.
They messed up the hose for the flamethrower.
Well, I mean,
there would be stop. Okay, so we saw one of the wedgelets was badly messed up. The top had quite a few cuts in it from Blacksmith's power hammer, and like what Pory said, the Blacksmith snapped free shipping's fuel rod, which I think is the reason for why at one point we were seeing free shipping's flames going right into itself rather than Blacksmith and stuff. But yeah, go ahead. What were you about to say, Civilian?
In that retrospect, they probably didn't notice that damage either, or maybe they did, and that's why Blacksmith got the win. But if I'm watching this fight firsthand and I'm seeing this fight and I'm like, yeah, Blacksmith, I just see it, and because like, yeah, the judges are up close, but they don't usually go like so up close. Like the only two times they've gone like extremely up close is Rotator versus Valkyrie and Overhaul versus Bite Force. That was like a 5-year gap. So
I mean, they probably have done it more times. It's just those are the only 2 times that they documented it on TV.
True, but there's a pretty low. I as far as I know, I don't think they did enter the box for this fight.
So like
I
I'm
agree with
sure I'm
Civilian.
sure I'm sure Green is right and Blacksmith did do some heavy damage, but I just didn't see it at all in that fight, so that's why I wouldn't give
Oh yeah,
Blacksmith like 4 to
I
1
agree
on
with Civilian.
damage.
Like the judges had no way to see that damage or equate the damage even. In the eyes
Yeah.
of the judges, like free shipping should have won. Again, it's close enough where I don't really care, but in my opinion, I think free shipping should have won that fight.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
like to continue. So we did see the belts come off and stuff. Those were free shipping's lifter belts. Gary Jin actually did comment on that during the fights and stuff. But here's what I want to say right now. Like one thing that was really good in this fight was Gary Jin's driving, in my opinion. I felt he drove this fight
Yeah.
really well and stuff.
Yeah,
Because like
that's true.
He did do
Oblivion
well.
did comment on how Blacksmith wasn't able to get to the sides. I think I'd give Gary Jin a lot of credit for keeping Blacksmith
Yeah.
from getting to its sides and dropping that hammer saw on like something like even more
Yeah,
important than
definitely.
what he was able to strike and stuff. But even though free shipping didn't come out with the win and stuff on this one by a close judge's decision, I felt this was well driven by Gary Jin. I felt like this was a good fight and stuff by free shipping.
It was a good performance from free
So
shipping.
now
Yeah,
on to
no
the
doubt.
question and stuff. What do you think about the judge's decision and stuff?
Yeah. So I mean, just before I forget, I did notice that there is one major problem with Blacksmith's design that I noticed. Just before I get into the judging thing, before I forget, one problem with Blacksmith's design this season is with the hammer saw you want to get to the juicy parts of a robot. That's why you have Sawblades and Scorpios with like dustpan designs. They can scoop up the opponent and get hits on
Yeah,
top.
that's also another problem I had with Blacksmith,
Yeah, like
like
Blackman's
looking at
forks
it.
allow it to get underneath, okay, but it'll always hit only the front wedge of the opponent, which is almost always going to be the most durable part. Like you see Sawblaze and Scorpios fights, they get completely underneath. They hit the top of the robot, which is why they do so much damage. Now take a look at Sawblaze versus Minotaur. Imagine instead of getting hits on the top armor and piercing right through, if Sawblaze could only get hits on the weapon, we would not have got such a
Oh yeah,
good performance from Sawblaze.
if Blacksmith's weapon was at like Sawblaze levels of power and it took on Minotaur would have probably fucked up Blacksmith.
Yeah, just because again, like I get what they were doing with this one. It's basically the hammer just with power saw instead, but hammer saw instead. But I think there is one problem Blacksmith may continue to see in the future, where it just gets underneath, but it can't get like over. And back to the
Yeah.
judging, like the argument about judging. See, as I have seen this part, I think someone even showed it in Uta or in the Robot Combat Fantasy League server or something. Damage, even if the other robot self damages itself, it's still to an extent counted as damage for the other robot. So, like free shipping lost its lifter, okay, that's damage, but by the end of the fight, Blacksmith was on fire, it was smoking, and its arm was like barely working. It was stuck in like a 90 degrees position. So I would score the damage quite equally, 3-2 for Blacksmith, honestly, just because of how many more shots it got. Aggression, this is close because Blacksmith got more hits with the hammer saw again, but Free Shipping was overall more aggressive as a robot even after its weapon stopped working. I would give 2-1 aggression for Free Shipping and 2-1 control also for Free Shipping, giving Free Shipping like a 6-5 victory there. But again, it's super close. I'm not mad at Blacksmith for winning because I can see Blacksmith winning either way. I just feel that Free Shipping probably should have got this fight in my opinion.
Go ahead, Pory, because I think you had
Yeah.
something you wanted to say.
Hello. Yes. See, the thing is, Blacksmith, there's no way free shipping did more damage than Blacksmith because a big part of damage is like functionality. And yeah, its spinner stopped spinning, but it could still hammer and stuff. But free shipping's weapon was completely down. And a weapon being down is going to count more for damage. And the robot has a little fire inside of it, especially when it's a fiery robot. It's just a functionality thing. It's like the same argument of Gruff versus Bloodsport. Like, yeah, the weapon being dead is bad, but the drive being dead is worse.
Yeah, but neither bot lost drive in this fight. TBA.
I know, but one robot lost its entire weapon, and the other robot only lost a small percentage of its weapon. Like
I'll tell you, okay,
Blacksmith
like
could still hammer stuff, you know. He
hammer
could,
saw's Blacksmith's weapon is a hammer saw. It's not a hammer. Like when Saw Blade
but
loses
it still can do something, you know. It's like the same argument as like, you know, like Shatter versus Malice. That's why Shatter should have won that fight. You know, it lost
the
its hammerhead,
difference
but it could
is
still whack
Shatter's hammer is
Malice.
moving fast enough to do
X4.
damage. But
Okay.
I
But
get
it's
your
still,
point.
but free shipping. Well, it's not like free shipping was going to do damage anyway. It's a lifter,
I
but
mean, true,
you
like, I
know,
get your point, which is why, like, again, free shipping edges out damage. It's like Blacksmith edges out damage either way, but the other two categories, I don't see how Blacksmith would have got more control, or I mean, I can see aggression to an extent, but
well, I think free shipping would definitely have the control without question. Like that's I don't like it would be like 2-1 control for free shipping because Blacksmith did have some control. You know, it wasn't like a one-sided affair. But I would probably edge Blacksmith out in aggression like 2-1 just because it used its weapon a lot more. Because it is aggression with a primary weapon.
I can see that. Like that's fair. Again, like it's close enough that it's fair either way.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted. I believe me. I want free shipping to win. I sponsor the robot, kinda. So you know, it's just how it is. But on that, in the very least, it's the selection committee after they're done picking like Tombstone at 0-3 for being spirited. They're gonna look at free shipping and be like, "That was a good loss," and they'll think of that ahead of like, you know, like Switchback or something. You know.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
How do you score the fight, Civilian?
Yeah, my opinion, I'm pretty same Z's on Oblivion Z's. Damage, I'd probably go damage 3-2 Blacksmith because sure, Pory is right that Blacksmith did still have a part of its weapon still there, but I feel like you have to do a certain amount of damage to get like 4-1 or a clean sweep on damage, and I honestly don't feel like Blacksmith even reached that, especially regarding for Oblivion's point that self-damage still counts as damage from the opponent. So I'd go damage 3-2 Blacksmith. Control easy 2-1 free shipping. Blacksmith did have some moments, but free shipping's moments were just so much more than Blacksmith's. And aggression, I'd go like 2-1, just like barely free shipping, but like very close. So it's not a fight I'm like extremely upset about because I've never been like a free shipping stan at all, so I don't necessarily care that much. But yeah, I still say free shipping won this fight.
Yeah. So in terms, oh, what was that, Pory?
No, I'm kidding. No, I was messing with Civilian Arc. You can go ahead.
I didn't even hear you.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, okay.
All right, so I actually did agree with the call here. I felt Blacksmith got this one. In terms of the judging criteria, I think free shipping did win both the aggression and control categories. So I would score them both 2-1 for free shipping. But damage, I'm scoring at 4-1 for Blacksmith and stuff. Because like, yeah, you could definitely make the argument that Blacksmith should get less damage points primarily because of like the weapon fire they did have in their system. Because if I took a guess, I bet what happened was their weapon motor was overheating or something like that. But yeah, I would personally say Blacksmith would dominate the damage category because like free shipping lost their weapon. Like I'd probably say like a third to halfway through the fight because we did see them lose one belt at one point, and then their other belt was dangling off the back of their robot at another point in the fight. There was also the many shots that Blacksmith did get on the top, even though a lot of it was definitely like not exactly noticeable, kind of like what Civilian and Oblivion would state. Don't forget that the judges are right there in front of the glass. They are much closer up. They are way more likely to see a lot of that action than we were and stuff. And then the other thing being as well, self damage could honestly be used against free shipping too with that flame and stuff, but yeah, there's a lot to consider. I would score damage 4-1 for Blacksmith, and I'd give Blacksmith a 6-5 decision.
I want to talk about aggression real quick. So I would score 3-2 damage, 2-1 control. The damage going to Blacksmith, control going to free shipping, like I think, like Pory said. But aggression's where it gets weird. I might lean free shipping, but I'm trying to read through aggression, and it doesn't really cover this case where both bots lost weapon, but Blacksmith technically had more weapon than free shipping. So like I'm looking at 1 and 4 right now. So One, both bots attack each other using the weapon. Award the 2 points to the bot that appeared to be using its weapon more as a primary means of contact. I mean, Blacksmith was doing that, but problem is they both lost their weapon. I think that rule applies to when both bots still have their weapon. So I'm looking at 4. If the weapon on both bots are disabled and the bots are ramming each other, then the frequency and boldness of the attack should be considered when deciding which bot should receive the 2 points. In that case, I go free shipping. But Blacksmith still had half its weapon going, so I think I would lean aggression in terms of Blacksmith. For Blacksmith, I mean.
Yeah, definitely. Very good case, and well done looking that up for us and stuff, Spin.
Yeah, good research.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was some good research, yeah.
I gotta love.
And can we just say one thing? Like,
Yep.
Al Kindle won a judge's decision.
Yeah, I know. He won it. Well,
Oh,
he technically
God.
did win other judges. He definitely did have one other as well, but
Only
this,
at
this
the
was
time,
this was
I
a more
remember.
impressive judge's decision victory, though. in my
True.
opinion.
Like I had to say though, like the look on Al Kendall's face when Blacksmith beat Rotator via judge's decision was
He was just
just
like, "Oh my god!"
Honestly,
like, did they
I
actually
agree
win
with the
this? Oh
decision.
my god.
I agreed with the Blacksmith Rotator decision, but I was kind of shocked by it because I thought that would be a decision that the judges would fuck over. I thought that would be like the
Exactly.
most a controversial decision, but they decided to be Chads and go Blacksmith. So I'm
I
like, hell
100%
yeah.
agree. When I saw the episode for the first time, I was definitely leaning towards Blacksmith because Rotator was like barely crab walking for like 2.5 minutes of the fight. I definitely
Yeah.
went Blacksmith, but I expected just because of damage, I expected the judges to lean towards Rotator, and I'm pretty happy they didn't. That would have definitely been a big controversy if they didn't. And for once, as you
Yeah.
said, they decided to go the actual like a better route and choose Blacksmith, which was pretty surprising to me, and I'm pretty sure it was surprising to most other people there as well. Even Al Kindle was surprised. So
Alrighty then. Anything else, or should we get on to the next battle then?
oh, I feel
All
bad
right,
about
here we
this one.
We're
go.
gonna argue.
We got a battle between two of Pory's King of Draft contender picks here.
Yeah,
We got
I
Deep
got
Six and
points.
Pain Train. Two more robots I was looking forward to seeing back here. Because then we got Pain Train. Pain Train was one of the robots I was a little surprised they got in and stuff, but I heard Pain Train made some pretty big improvements to their robot, knowing that last time it was a last minute build, but this time put a lot more work into it. And then Deep Six was really hyping up the fact that they could self-right this season, and I want to see it self-right in the battle box and stuff. But
It kind of did in the
yeah,
in the fight.
in a way, it kind of did. But like where I was mainly going with that is like something like what we saw in the video. Oh, in
Yeah.
the videos they posted.
Yeah, I mean
but
that's fair.
that's kind of what I was intending by that. And I see civilians showing off his Deep Six poker chip.
They are C, baby. 6 team loves me for whatever reason.
I'll go ahead and bring the floor to you guys for this one. What are your opinions on this battle?
I mean, I do feel. I mean, I really wanted Pain Train to win this because, in my opinion, Pain Train. Before I saw this, in my opinion, Pain Train was the dark horse of the season.
Yeah.
And even in this fight, it didn't do necessarily badly. Like, it did decently. Just that even it got one hit in, which sent Deep Six like 3 feet, 4 feet back, which was decent. But Deep Six was an absolute beast. Like it just needed one shot to absolutely destroy Pain Train's tire, which I mean to be fair is not saying that much. On the next hit, it hit Pain Train so hard, its top panel went flying and it took like 2 whole seconds for it to come back down. I don't think that's ever been done before. Like that, and the next hit it just yeeted Pain Train across the arena and got its lipos on fire and stuff. That was an amazing showing from Free. Maybe I do think Deep Six could have been more maneuverable because I think by the end of the fight they were like kind of sort of crab walking in a way, but it was definitely a really good showing from Deep Six's spinner, as well as now showing they're reliable enough to like take multiple hits and not stop working. It did also get off the floor and kind of self-right, so that's pretty good. That's a pretty big improvement from Deep Six. I really want Painting to really improve as well. Because I mean it did seem to have a bit like it fixed its wheeling problems. It drove much better in this fight than last season. Pain Train fixed itself. I want to see Pain Train going really well in a couple of other fights. I don't know if it'll necessarily make top 32, but I still want to see it doing really well. Deep Six, if it gets another couple of like really destructive wins or even really destructive fights in general, I can see it making like the lower half of top 32. Honestly.
All right, Pory, Civilian, or Spin. You guys want to go next?
Spin, you go.
I mean, I really like this fight, but it was kind of short and like nothing like really. It was like real. It was really one sided for Deep Six. I mean, Pain Train got that one hit, but then Deep Six just like took out half their drive, and you see Pain Train really struggling to get in, and then Deep Six just like demolishes them again. Like I was kind of hoping Pain Train would be more aggressive, but it makes sense that they weren't as aggressive as I wanted because Deep Six is scary. That weapon is longer than the entirety of Pain Train. That weapon is 2 Pain Trains
Yeah.
long. All right,
It's
so
kind
it
of
makes
crazy
sense.
how
Like,
you're right about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was really I expected more from this fight, but what we got was still amazing. I really love spectacle and fights, so this was fun. Seeing
Yeah.
like the panel come off a paint train and just like I think it was that battery that came out and started
Yeah,
just like
lipo
roasting
battery.
Yeah, I
different
love how it
fire.
ripped the
That was
lipo right
fun.
out.
That was fun to see. I love fire.
Although I think it was
Yeah.
the screws that set it on fire. I could be wrong about that though.
I mean, even either way, like there was absolute demolition from Deep Six. So
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I thought it was a very fun fight. I predicted Pain Train to win it actually because I thought that Pain Train would be a little more controlled in this fight. You know, get around to the side, clips, because those Deep Six wheels are tiny. Look at those little things. Like you could sip one of those off if it got around to the side, surely. But fortunately, Pain Train was seeming to have a little bit of driving issues. But I mean, this fight is the reason why Deep Six is one of my favorite robots of all time, just because it's just chaos, pure chaos. Like no robot delivers hits like that. Like let's be real, no Vert at least. But it was a fun fight. It was good to see the destruction. I got 5 points in the fantasy league. Shout out to Deep Six.
Okay, if the free shipping blacksmith take didn't get me hate, then this surely will. This was, in my opinion, a fairly mediocre fight. Not, it wasn't bad by any means, but it was just, in my opinion, not a great fight. Yes, while there were some great hits, and I ranked Deep Six most destructive bot of the episode, even though I was first going Saw Blaze until Pori and Green persuaded me to go Deep Six. Um, in my opinion, this was not a great fight because it kind of took a while for them to even get the hits in because like the first hit that took about like say what 15-20 seconds to get it, and then took another like 20 to 25 seconds to get that kill shot in. Like to me, this was a lot like the Copperhead Gigabyte fight, where yes, while it's very destructive, it's just kind of boring to watch up until you get to that hit. And like the time spent leading up to that hit is kind of just meandering around because both bots had some drive problems in this fight. So yeah, this is not a good fight in my opinion. So yeah,
Yeah, so kind of my opinion on this fight. I liked this one. I thought this was a pretty good fight, but yeah, it's kind of going to Pain Train first. Like on one hand, Pain Train looked a lot better than it did last season. Cause like we saw, like when we first saw them fight in Slammo, like they were struggling to simply drive in a straight line, and even that was the case for like the Smee and I believe Sub Zero as well. But they were able to drive in a straight line here. The problem is they clearly were still having some sort of issue because it kind of looked like Pain Train was trying to attack Deep Six from an angle, which makes sense because there's no way they would win a weapon on weapon shot with Deep Six. But kind of like what we see in that image there. I think they were trying to get an angle to like clip some of the forks or get one of the wheels, kind of like what Pori was stating, but they seem to be struggling to get to like drive exactly where they were wanting to, which someone I was watching this episode with pointed out that it might be a traction issue with their wheels and stuff, which that would kind of make sense in my opinion, just because I think that fits some of the issues, but I don't know for sure. It's not confirmed to me. I don't want to make big assumptions like that. And yeah, in terms of Deep Six, like that was a monster fight from it, similar to what we saw it do to Axe Backwards and Nelly the Ellibot in 2019. Like that thing tore Pain Train to shreds, at least for bits of it and stuff, because like the wheel guard and part of the wheel were gone after one hit. Then we saw the top panel go, and then we saw the robot go flying into the bottom of the screws, and its LiPo battery falling out of the robot and getting lit on fire. But the one question I've got that's not confirmed is Deep Six. I kind of support Oblivion where he mentioned that Deep Six might have been having mobility. It's Deep Six was kind of looking like it was crab walking, kind of like towards the end and like right before it got
Yeah.
those first few big hits. I'm not sure if that was like a mobility problem on Deep Six, like if they took some damage, or if that was just like something by design and stuff, and it was just a design
Because it's
thing and
definitely
stuff
seemed
between the
like Deep
robot.
Six was
Like,
gyroing off and when it was trying to move and stuff. I do think there was a mobility or there was a mobility issue with Deep Six. I don't know if it was necessarily a mobility issue with Pain Train or if it was just driving. We don't know enough about that, honestly. But Deep Six, I mean, yeah, I did have drive problems as well. I think they should fix it up because Deep Six is so wide. Honestly, it doesn't even need that much mobility. As long as it keeps, because it's so wide, as long as the opponent is in front of it, like, I think it's decent enough to get through.
oh yeah.
Actually, I can't confirm obviously because I'm not on the team, but I'm pretty sure it's a by design thing as opposed to it having trouble. Even in the interview afterwards, he's like, "Yeah, I just wait for them to come to me." Like he wasn't like saying like, "Oh, I had drive issues." Like that's kind of what he does. He like turns and turns until he's facing the opponent and hopes that the opponent comes to him so he can rip off its lid and throw it on the screws and cause a lipo fire.
I mean, yeah, I get that could also definitely be happening, but it just seemed a bit more like it could definitely be that it could 100% be that. But it just seemed to me like it was more mobility related than just driving. But again, I'm not, as you said, I'm not on the team. I'm not really,
Yeah.
I don't really have too much information on this specific topic. So
Well, another thing to note is that it looked like he was crowd walking, but like imagine if you have Deep Six's weapon and you do a full like 90-degree turn. He's gonna flip over from that 100%. Like the gyro is probably insane with that. So it looks like he's crowd walking, but he's kind of like slowly shuffling around so that he doesn't, fall over and go flying across the arena like Rex did in season 2.
I mean, fair enough.
That's so true.
This could be that problem as well. So.
Is that Rex slander I hear?
Hey, I love Rex. They should come back. I would love to see. I bet they'd
No
get a
one
win in
doesn't
Fight
like
Night.
Rex. Okay,
Give
no
them
one
the
doesn't
weight
like
bonus.
Rex.
It's
to
not
see-
gonna win. It's just gonna be fun to see. Just give them the weight bonus.
Need to see.
Like they said they didn't even need like a full like extra 250. They just said they wanted a little bit and they wouldn't give it. And I bet you anything that Rex would get a win in Fight Night. They'd go like 1 and 2. I bet you anything.
I think the number they gave was 50%. But I think okay. I forgot where I heard this. I think it was from Bunny. But I think they were offered 25 pounds, but they need 50% to actually get it going.
Gotcha. Anything else on this battle, or should we get to the YouTube exclusive fight? And yes, I'm switching to YouTube exclusive in the main event. We'll close it out with the main event.
Good idea.
Well, we're
that's
technically
fair.
closing it out with power rankings, but fight-wise, I want to close it out with the main event.
Do you want to close out
That's
with the
fair.
main
That's
event?
fair.
though?
Because I have a lot to talk about the main event. So yeah, we can do
Same do I.
it.
Same do I, buddy. Same do I.
What was that, Spin? So I remembered hearing
That was
something.
civilian
we
and
really-
Richard.
Well, Spin said something
Out
too.
on the
Oh.
main event. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I want to get to the YouTube exclusive fight because kind of like what Oblivion and a few others have said, there's a lot to be said about the main event, which, yeah, we'll get to that and stuff. We'll close out the fight section of this with that.
That's 100% fair. Okay.
All right, here we go. And now we got the Green versus Pory matchup here. here and stuff. We got Jackpot versus Deadlift, and so yeah, this was a YouTube exclusive fight, something new that Battlebots is doing
And
for
I
this
just saw
season.
that. That's
It's
amazing.
it's a little similar to Battlebots on like Science Channel and stuff, where if you watch the episode on Science Channel on Wednesday back in like the 2018 season, I think the 29 part of the 2019 season as well, you'd get to see a
Oh,
bonus.
the 2019.
You'd get to see a bonus fight in there as well. This time they're doing this via YouTube and stuff. Basically, how it works is if you're a BattleBot supporter on Facebook, you get to see the fight on Thursday, the morning the episode comes out. And then if you're not a BattleBots supporter, basically the fight's released publicly Sunday on BattleBots' YouTube channel. And so for this one, we got to see Jackpot and Deadlift here, a rematch from last season where Deadlift won against Jackpot in the bounties, and Jackpot was looking to get revenge in this one. And Pory, I got one thing I want to ask you first.
Yes,
So
Green.
you and I were going back and forth a few days before the episode began on who is more neat between Jackpot and Deadlift. You wanna know why Jackpot is more neat than Deadlift? Because
Why?
Jackpot brought Needle back. But yeah, Jackpot brought in a surprise for this fight where they came in with Needle, Tracer, basically a mini bot from Tracer, used the High Center Bale Spear, for example, but then they renamed it Ace for this season, and it did its job really well, so.
Oh yeah, like Needle was amazing in this fight. Needle, what was it called? Ace. It wasn't for Ace, I think Deadlift could have won this. But first, before I get into
Oh
like the
yeah.
fight itself, um, I mean, honestly, I would say this fight is probably better than something like Pain Train versus Deep Six. I think this could have been there in place, but I get BattleBots doesn't want to put like the absolute worst fights in the as a supporter thing or on YouTube. They want to create hype for it. So there's no like I see people talking about this, talking about how Deadlift versus Jackpot was actually a really good fight. It should have been in the main card. The purpose of the YouTube exclusive fight is not to put like the basement fights on. It's to create hype for the YouTube channel and kind of get like more viewers to it. And they're not gonna do that if they post like rubbish fights. They can only do that if they put like pretty decent fights in the YouTube exclusive. So I get why this fight, in spite of being a pretty good fight, was YouTube exclusive rather than being in the actual fight card. That being said, I made a prediction. I was going back and forth as well. The reason I thought Jackpot would win this is the fact that it was a YouTube exclusive. I thought it would be like Jackpot chucking Deadlift a couple of times in the air and Deadlift dying. It wasn't like that at all. Um, First of all, props to both robots. Both of them put up a really strong, really good performance. So that's nothing to be ashamed of for either robot. Jackpot, I think definitely didn't get as big of hits as I expected it to. That's probably because Deadlift's front is like super, it's pretty wedgy, so I get why they didn't get much bite and stuff. Deadlift definitely was winning the first minute of the fight. It was getting underneath. It was pushing around Deadlift, turning it all around. For a while, Deadlift's chain. I think what they released officially the statement was that after that big hit, shrapnel from the robot went into the drive chain of Jackpot, and that is why it was gyroing for a while because they wanted to gyro so that the chain would break and come off, so they could continue as a three-wheel drive robot, which it worked. And for the last minute and a half to 2 minutes, Jackpot was completely getting that fight. Like and Ace or Needle as well was doing a really good job of high centering Deadlift while Jackpot was struggling to gyro and stuff. That was really good work from Ace or Needle. And again, Jackpot took full advantage. They came back. They did a lot of damage to Deadlift. They flipped it over, I think, once. I don't remember exactly. They ripped off the front fork configuration thing of Deadlift's lifter. They did a lot of damage to its wheels at the back. And Jackpot 100% did really well in that fight. So I'm happy to see Jackpot doing well. I'm also happy to see Deadlift doing well. It didn't do as well as Jackpot, but it was still a pretty strong performance nonetheless. So I do want to see both of these robots do much better in the next two fights.
Yeah. In response to the whole, having good fights, from what I hear, there's only like 3 or 4 dud fights in this season. Like apparently, like the fight quality is much higher than previous seasons. So I think there's also just not a lot of like bad fights they could put as exclusive. But I do like that before I go into the fight, I like the YouTube exclusives. It's like the Science Channel exclusives. Only the last like 5 fights we aren't going to have to find on YouTube in Korean a year from now. So that's always very nice. But it was a fun fight. It was Deadlift did very well in the beginning. It was very nice of them to let Jackpot get that look good in their hometown. You know what I mean? No, but Jackpot's definitely a beast. They're definitely a good robot. They earned that win for sure. And I would say that this is a good loss for Deadlift at least.
Yeah.
I think like
Well,
one mistake Deadlift might have made is like driving into Deadlift spinner and lifting at the same time, which allowed Deadlift to like rip up its lifter. They did get around to the sides at the beginning, but then like Deadlift got a couple of hits, and their drive I think was compromised like a minute and a half into the fight. I do think if Deadlift was a bit more tactical in that driving, like a little less like just bars off aggressive and more tactical, like getting to Deadlift's side rather than just hitting it, just going headlong. I do think Deadlift could have maybe won this fight because again, Jackpot was having a bit of problems with the chain and stuff. I mean, again, as Pory said, good performance, so I mean, it's good.
what do you got on this civilian or spin?
Uh,
I wish this fight was closer. It was a good fight. It was a really fun fight. Jackpot like kind of like scared me a little bit near the middle where they run over the chain and chain got stuck in the drivetrain. I think that's what happened. That's what Oblivion said, correct? And then like they're crab walking to try to break and spit out said chain. That scared me. But like the thing is, Deadlift wasn't capitalizing well on that. Like, I think Jackpot just got this chance to just freely recover, and Deadlift was just hoping Jackpot would just get counted out or something like that. I
I'm
wish
pretty
they
sure that's
capitalized
because
on that more.
Deadlift was being high centered by Ace the entire time.
Oh
Not the entire
yeah,
time,
that's right.
but yeah, part of
well,
it
I
The
yes.
mean,
majority, like 90% of the time, it was being high centered, and the remaining, I think, as been said, probably waiting for like the Jackpot to get like counted out or something. But again, Ace probably won Jackpot this entire fight.
yeah.
Needle is top three nuisance slash mini bot. But yeah, I just I just wish Deadlift like I think what Pori said. I wish Deadlift was more tactical. It just I love aggressive driving style, just running in there, run into weapon, hope you kill it, or just try to control it, or just like tank the hit and do the control. But like Deadlift did not like it tanked the hits for a while, like the whole match I think, but it just did not get the control. Like it was aggressive, but did not. It just couldn't compete with Jackpot's ground game. And Jackpot didn't get too many big hits in either. They weren't getting giant bites. They were just kind of grinding or just getting little scratches and nibbles. And they there's this is a better fight overall than most of the episode one card, but it was just less of a spectacle.
Basically, yeah, good start for Deadlift. Like, we definitely did see some drive issues from Jackpot, even though the real reason was that we wanted to give Deadlift a shot at this fight. We wanted to show them a little bit of mercy before we before we get to killing them, killing the crap out of them and stuff. So
Yo,
so basically we purposely crab walked a little bit just to give Deadlift a shot and stuff. And we kind of I was a little disappointed though while they did have while Jackpot did have issues to be real, because kind of like what Oblivion and I think Spin mentioned this too. Uh, Jackpot or Deadlift probably could have compensated a little better on that, because Deadlift did have a really good push that included that flame and stuff, but from there we didn't really see much from them, because I know Needle definitely did get in on the action eventually, but even before that, Deadlift probably could have done a little bit more and so on, but not really. But yeah, and then we stopped deciding to show mercy on Deadlift and decided to get to beating them up. And yeah, we saw Ace get in on the action and do a really good job with that. And then, yeah, Jackpot did go to work with them and stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, and so we saw a bunch of big damage on Deadlift. That front was messed up on them. The back took some huge hits too. And yeah, it was a pretty awesome fight overall. And yeah.
Yeah.
My guess for why Jackpot had drive issues, because being for real, I'm just messing with Pory when I'm saying that we were showing Mercy a deadlift because he's a deadlift fan while I'm a Jackpot fan. But yeah, what Oblivion and Civilian said makes a lot of sense in my opinion. As for what happened there, I haven't seen either of those things, but I would definitely take their word on it and stuff. But yeah, anything else on this fight before we get to the main event?
Yeah, one more thing. Deadlift's gonna make a comeback. We're gonna go 2-1. We're gonna end the fight night. We're gonna get a high seed. We're gonna take out everyone in the competition, and Deadlift's gonna make that comeback.
You're right. Deadlift
what
would
he
probably...
said, boy, switchback.
You kidding me?
You're right,
Jackpot
Pory.
even showed Mercy a deadlift there, and
Yo,
Deadlift didn't take
no.
advantage of that.
Listen,
Pory,
we're
you're
gonna
right.
we're gonna go off.
Pory, you're right. Deadlift could probably make it far in the Robot Wars competition. I gotta agree with you there, buddy.
No, listen. That's just a rebranding of your last joke. Find some new jokes, buddy.
Listen,
agree with Pory. Like,
Deadlift's gonna make grand final. It's gonna be
Deadlift's
like Eruption.
going all the way.
All right, I think main event time.
Oh my god.
Oh, please take a good picture. Thank you for taking this picture.
He took a good picture. He took a great picture. Good job.
Yeah,
I mean, I always try to go with something good.
I love how Endgame's kind of like waving hi to everyone. He's waving to the fans.
But yeah, main event time, which is a main event that I was predicting was going to happen this season because we haven't seen Endgame go up against a big flipper so far during Battlebots. So I was predicting this Hydra was going to be one of their first opponents, and I was predicting this was going to be an early main event. And yeah, sure enough, it ended up being the first main event of the season. So yeah, Hydra originally was trolling everybody by coming out with some ridiculously long forks, and Endgame responded coming out with a bunch of forks of their own. Only difference was that Hydra removed theirs before coming into the arena, similar to what they did for the attachment they were originally showing Gigabyte that they were going to come out with for that fight. And oh yeah, I guarantee a lot of these people, a lot of my co-hosts are going to be talking about this, but I would agree with them that this fight was a little disappointing in my eyes. This didn't live up to the hype that I was hoping for when I was predicting that this main event was going to happen. But on to what my co-host got, and I believe Oblivion wants to go first.
An incredibly disappointing fight. See, here's the thing, okay? Hydra should have won this fight. Hydra should have gone 1-0. Hydra should have started off a dominant performance against the reigning champ.
Yeah.
And yet, the ESC they used for the pump for the motor, for the pump for the flipper, burnt out. And so on the very first flip, which again Hydra, Jake Ewer did a really good job of exploiting Endgame's gyro and getting to its side almost immediately. In fact, after they became aggressive. Getting this massive flip onto Endgame, like sending it at least, I would say, like 8 to 10 feet in the air. It seemed like Hydra was going to win this fight. Then its flipper gets stuck in the upward position, which was so heartbreaking to watch because I think I've made it pretty clear over time that I'm a massive Hydra fan. I love Hydra almost as much as I love Bronco at this point. So seeing its flipper get stuck was so heartbreaking, honestly. Especially since even after his flipper got stuck, Hydra was still getting underneath Endgame. It was still doing a pretty goddamn good job of getting underneath and pushing around Endgame. And Endgame just barely getting to the corner and getting like one hit on Hydra, getting it stuck on a fork.
Yeah,
and in addition to that, I believe Jake, you had posted saying that a post on Twitter or Facebook or something. I'm not sure on what platform, but he posted saying that the reason Hydra's motors died, I'm not sure if he was talking about his drive motors or the flipper motor, but it was because they used the ESCs from Fusion.
Yep, Facebook and Instagram.
That was like again, Hydra had this. I wouldn't say this Hydra flipped Endgame enough to say it had the fight in the bag. It definitely was having a massive advantage coming in. It was flipping Endgame. It was getting underneath. And Endgame was struggling to get the Hydra sides, even when Hydra's flipper was stuck. And again, it was so disappointing. Hydra could have not easily, but it could have definitely won that fight. As I said, this is a really disappointing performance from Hydra. We all expected to come out swinging. Even from Endgame, this was a pretty disappointing fight. Like, in spite of Hydra getting its flipper stuck, it still couldn't do anything. It got like one decent hit in, and that was it. Even because of the long forks, it just couldn't get underneath Hydra. It couldn't even get to the sides of Hydra. So this was like a pretty disappointing fight from both robots. At least after the match, like Team Endgame addressed it. They talked about how they wanted to face Hydra when it was 100% and not like this. And even Jake
Yeah.
Hewitt was being sportsmanlike. He was talking about how there's a problem with the pump and how like it was fair to lose to the reigning champ. They would come back, they would come better, and they would redeem themselves and stuff. So I mean, at first when I watched it, I was completely heartbroken. On rewatching, I realized like it was pretty obvious Hydra was winning that fight to an extent before that, which it could be a stretch to say because it was just one flip, but Hydra was definitely ahead till that point. It was a little better to see people realizing and understanding that even people like Zasa were commenting on how it was a much closer fight than they expected. Um, that's pretty much my thoughts. I feel pretty disappointed with Hydra and Endgame. I really wish Hydra started off with this is like Hydra's first loss in the fight cards, as far as I know, which is
Yeah.
pretty disappointing as well.
Yeah.
Hydra, this is its first like major loss in the fight card. It's gonna start off 0-1 at the moment. It can definitely like redeem itself and stuff, but I mean, even to be fair, even if Hydra gets like one win, it's still making top 32, no doubt. What
Oh
I'm
yeah.
concerned about is this could be the very first season in Battlebots reboot where Flipper does not get the top four seed. I think Blip could, or Hydra with two more like really good wins could get like could get like fourth or third seed, which I'm hoping it does. Yeah, because Hydra was still impressive. I think it could because we know for a fact. I don't know if it's second or third fight. We know for a fact it's fighting Glitch. That could go. It could go for the Hydra's favor, in my opinion. So I do really want to see Hydra doing well after this. I really want to see getting the fourth seed, making at least bare minimum quarterfinals or the semifinals again. I've been monologuing a lot this podcast, so I'm gonna let you guys talk about it as well.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll take the reins from this one. Yeah, this was a pretty weak main event. Probably top 5 worst in my opinion, maybe top 3. Hydra was doing much more than Endgame, and like, maybe it was Endgame's forks that were a problem because I don't think those are the same type of forks Endgame used to fight, like say Tantrum or Shatter or Whiplash.
Yeah. Okay, so hey, Pory here. So this fight, it was very underwhelming. It wasn't a very good fight, and quite frankly, if these weren't the two like most popular, well, not most popular, but like the most successful bots last year, this probably would have been a basement fight, honestly, or close to it, in my opinion. Maybe that's a little
I mean,
drastic, but
yeah, like no, no, I mean, like if
Yeah.
this was just think of this was like Sub Zero versus Rampage or something. This would be a
it would
basement fight.
it'd be or at least like like a bonus fight or something. Like it wasn't a great fight. It was very underwhelming. There was a lot of problems with that, and apparently Team Waiachi was like, "Hey, these motors blew up in fusion. Let's throw them in our successful bot. And it'll be okay." But
Waiachi
they just
moment.
they just went with that, and you know, but in a way, I'm happy with the results because, like, I like Hydra. It's a very neat robot. I like watching it. It's a lot of fun. But the robot combat community acts like Hydra is like the freaking like it's like the robot. It's like the robot that Jesus Christ himself built or something. Like they act like this.
Thought that
Like
was Uppercut.
what?
Thought that was
Yeah, I mean,
Uppercut.
civilians try to do the same thing.
Uppercuts up there too. But no, but Hydra. Everyone acts like Hydra is like this
You're
unbeatable
not
force.
wrong.
And
Like after seeing the end game, after seeing this fight, if Hydra Slipper was in 2020, if Hydra Slipper was more, if Hydra if Hydra's Flipper didn't have the same problems against Whiplash and they beat Whiplash, which they 100% would have if the Flipper was working,
Yeah, if it had the
they
flipper
would have
power that it
won
had in
2020. We saw how well they could have
No,
done against
no.
Endgame.
I think Black Dragon could beat it out. I think
That
Black
Black
is
Dragon
Dragon
low.
would
could beat
beat it.
Hydra
Black
out.
Dragon would
Because
beat
then
it, and
Black Dragon would have lost. Like Black Dragon is not low enough. It's not maneuver. I mean, it's maneuverable, but it's not like maneuverable enough
Thing is
to
though,
take.
the thing is though, Black Dragon is among the best drivers of 2020.
I mean,
yeah.
so is Jake Hewitt.
I may not be a I may not like Black Dragon all that much as Green and Pory know, Black Dragon is one of the best drivers of that year. And I feel like Black Dragon does have what it takes to tango with Jake Ewart, as does Matt Vasquez and Endgame. I still feel like
Yeah.
Hydra would have beaten Endgame if the flipper was working, but I feel like a bot like Black Dragon could beat Hydra just because Black Dragon is kind of a more tactical robot than a bot like Endgame is, because you see a lot more tactics coming from a bot like Black Dragon than Endgame usually has. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's my opinion.
All
Spin, you
right,
can say
go ahead and
whatever you
spin.
want about that.
I feel like I'm just gonna do a lot of reiterating because this was just massively disappointing. You have one good flip, and then that was just the whole fight. You have one good flip, and nothing else in the fight was of substance. You know, Hydra broke its flipper. It could not really do much other than wedging, which it was actually doing well at. Endgame couldn't really get under Hydra. Its forks were getting in the way. You know, and then it also just it was inferior ground game, so it kind of just all it could do was just drive into the wedge, and then for a first loss, like first fight card loss, it was such a disappointment because it didn't feel like a strong loss. It didn't feel like it actually had a chance. It just, oh, you got screwed over by whatever unreliability or pit stuff, whatever, and that's how you get your first loss. It's just really disappointing, and even after Hydra like broke its flipper, Endgame didn't even really get a good hit. He got one like okay hit and pushed into a corner or something like that, but it didn't get a strong hit, and that's also disappointing. Like I really want to see Hydra lose in the fight card, not because I'm a Hydra hater. I just really want to see such an untouchable robot get wrecked, but it didn't even do that.
All right, I'm getting to my opinions here and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so pretty much like the four of them covered the points pretty well. So yeah, I did find this to be disappointing. This is probably my least favorite fight of the entire fight card, counting the YouTube exclusive fight. But the thing that they didn't really mention here, that Endgame actually talked about, because they posted a video on Facebook today, and Endgame was having problems with two things primarily in this one. The first one being, which they kind of covered, the forks and stuff. They were having issues with the forks, and they were planning on going to the pits and getting that figured out, and figured out how they could get their ground game to be like relatively more successful and stuff after the forks were clearly getting in the way in this thing. The other thing is they were having problems with the floor, actually. This is probably not something that was actually more noticeable, but based off of the logic that they were stating in that video, it actually does kind of make sense. And basically, those issues kind of actually led them to the first flip and stuff. But yeah, Endgame commented how they did seem like they did like how they performed in that one, except that they really struggled to get underneath Hydra. They were kind of commenting on that, but yeah. I think Endgame I think is looking to solve some of those gremlins and stuff, which yeah. And then with Hydra and stuff, like yeah, I was definitely a bit disappointed. And I personally do feel like if Hydra's flipper didn't get burned out and stuff, and they didn't have all those ESC issues that Jake was talking about on the Waiachi Instagram and stuff, or whoever it was that was running it, I do think Hydra would have won this fight if that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Because yeah, even with the flipper stuck up into the air, Endgame Endgame was having such a hard time getting hits in with that vertical spinner, and I think Hydra would have been able to take this if that didn't happen, and so on. But
Yeah.
all right, so yeah, I think that probably covers the basics of this one. Anything else from you guys before we get to the last part of this? All right, so I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that I'm planning on doing power rankings at the end of each episode review, where I'm gonna rank each robot up to 32 and stuff. But of course, after episode one, we're only gonna see 16 and so on. So, and then I'll let them like give their opinions on this and how they would swap it around after this. But I kind of want to explain mine. So yeah, I have Sawblaze and Uppercut at the top two. I was kind of debating on who I think should be number one because both of them had such dominating victories. and stuff. And I think either way, it could really go either way. But I settled on Sawblaze because I felt like Sawblaze just had a little bit more to it than Uppercut, but you could definitely make arguments for Uppercut. Yeah. Endgame's another one where it definitely didn't have exactly the best victory in there, but I think Endgame is still up there because like they still proved like the power of the vertical spinner, plus the fact that they're defending champ too. Like even though that probably wouldn't apply too much to the rankings, I still think Endgame would be a pretty high seed up to this point. Yeah, and then next up, the next four ranks: Jackpot, Blacksmith, Captain Shrederator, and Gruff. All four of those robots I felt had very good victories and stuff. Like they definitely weren't as dominant as like Sawblaze and Uppercut, but I felt all four of them had really satisfactory performances. And at this point, I would give all four of them a pretty high seed if it was going to the top 32 after the first episode and stuff. Even though that's not going to happen. And then the next few: Minotaur, Gigabyte, free shipping, and I even would include Tombstone in this. I felt all four of them had pretty good losses. Like Tombstone's loss was definitely like not as good as like Minotaur, Gigabyte, and free shipping, who all put up a massive fight in their on their opponent, but they all had pretty satisfactory opponents. Then the one here, which I know Pory is going to disagree with, and maybe some of you others, I kind of have Deep Six down below. I felt Deep Six was a good victory, but I felt it wasn't as good as some others, as well as some of the fights some of the robots above that put up and stuff. Yeah, and then next up, Hydra and Deadlift, where they both put up a pretty good fight on their opponents, even though they did fall. But I felt like they didn't put up at least as good of a fight. But I feel like it could change for both of those two, because I feel like those two both have a lot of potential in them. It's just they need to sort out some of the gremlins. Yeah, and then Switchback and Pain Train are both a little bit unknown to me as of right now. Like, both of them had some pretty big gremlins, but I think if they could sort out those, the potential is definitely there, and we could see them in the top 32 and at a much higher spot than what I have them at right now. So, all right, I'll leave the floor to you guys here.
Oh wow,
Please make it quick and stuff
yeah,
because
okay, I'll
I
make
want
it
to close
okay.
this out sometime soon because
I
I don't
have
want to
noticed that
have
I've
this
been
going for too long.
monologuing a lot, so I will. I have noticed that I've been monologuing a lot, so I will make it quick this time. First of all, I completely disagree with this. Just putting that out there. Number one, I agree with Sobley's number one. That was probably the
The
strongest
top two
performance
are
by
correct.
far. Yeah, I would say the top three are definitely correct. Sobley's uppercut Endgame, strongest. I mean, Endgame wasn't a strong performance, but it is the reigning champ after all. So top three, I agree with. This is gonna be decently controversial. Number four, Jackpot. I mean, number four, I would put Captain Shrederator like pretty easily. Captain Shred
Yeah.
put up a really good fight against Tombstone. Like Shred is fourth place, 100%. Fifth place. Now this is also gonna get me controversy. This is probably because I am biased towards a certain bot here, but I mean, I would put Hydra at like 5 or 6 just because it showed it can tango with bots like Endgame, and that itself deserves a top 5 spot in my opinion. Like 5, 6, 7 are pretty interchangeable. Hydra, Minotaur, free shipping to an extent, I would say. Tombstone definitely as well. It's in this. It's like not 5 to 10. It's just this mixture of bots where they had like really strong performances, but just not up there. Again, like Hydra, Gruff, not Gruff necessarily, but Hydra, Gruff, Minotaur. Gigabyte also did decently well. So, and Deeps and Deadlift as well. I would put it like 11, maybe, or maybe like 11, 12, or 13. I'm not giving this like a definite cementing like look on each and every robot getting numbered, but this is like just my overall opinion. And I think I would end off like the worst performances were, as you said, probably Pain Train and Switchback. Both of them were just air. Like Pain Train is definitely the worst in this card. Switchback second worst. I agree with the bottom two. I agree with the top three. But after that, I would just put in bots like Hydra and Shred much higher than you have here, as well as bring down robots like Jackpot and Blacksmith, who I was not that impressed with, as well as putting robots with strong losses again like Hydra or even Minotaur and Gigabyte up there as well. Free shipping too, and of course, you can't forget Tombstone. This is just my overall power ranking, where I do like mostly disagree with your thing, but I do get your point. I do get why you kept them like that. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this changes as we move on.
Yeah, ultimately, I'm gonna reach out on a few topics, specifically the Deep Six topic. I do agree with Green, where Deep Six wasn't exactly the most impressive of wins. Neither was anyone else besides like Uppercut, Sawblaze, and the full body spinners, and at least in my opinion, as I ranked every single bot that wasn't Uppercut, Sawblaze, or the full body spinners a grade performance of mid C or lower, as I gave Sawblaze an A plus, Uppercut a B, Gigabyte a B minus, and Captain Shrederator a B minus. Deep Six I gave a mid C to, and I gave it number 5 because I mean those hits were in fact legendary. I'd also have Hydra ranked higher than Endgame. Fight me, all you guys who say Endgame should be ranked higher than
I
Hydra and are
agree.
gonna give me crap
I do
for it.
agree with Civ to an extent here.
Like I don't
Like,
think Hydra. I don't have Hydra or Endgame ranked in like even the top half of my rankings, anyways. So yeah. The other thing is not really anything actually. I would move Gruff a lot lower because that was a pretty weak fight in my opinion, and Gruff didn't do that much. So yeah, those are my takes on that, but they're your opinion. So all
damn, you're
right.
all sleeping on Hydra like so badly.
Well,
That wasn't a good
I just want to
fight.
see a little more from Hydra, because like if Hydra gets a really impressive second fight, like Hydra will skyrocket up those rankings
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff. But
Same thing with Endgame. If Endgame gets like a killer second fight, like if Endgame somehow fucks Witch Doctor up, which I don't see happening in a million years, I I would probably rank it in top 5, but as of now, Endgame is, let's see, 16, 15, 14, 11. It is ranked 11 of 16 bots, so for me, so
all
yeah.
right, Pory, you want to share some of your opinions quick on this?
There's really not much to share. I mean, there's no way I would rank Hydra high because it, you know, stopped working and died. And I know people want to give it a free pass because it's neat, but it is what it is. I mean, I would probably rank Deep Six around 5-ish as well. I have Shredded like 4, I think, because I mean that win against Tombstone was very impressive. Deep Six, yeah, it wasn't like super agile and aggressive, but those hits speak for themselves for sure. But other than that, there's really not much more to say about this list. I mean, for the most part, I agree with it.
You got anything,
See,
Spin?
one thing is,
I got like
you should go
3
ahead.
minor things. I feel like Hydra should be just slightly higher, just above Deep Six. That's like only thing I changed in like the bottom 8. Get above that. I would place Captain Shrederator above Jackpot. And then here's the hottest one. I'd place Endgame below Jackpot because I'm just
It's
not
a
impressed with
cold
his
take.
performance at all. I mean, it was facing Hydra, who just did not have a weapon, and it was being outwedged. Its forks were getting in the way.
Yeah.
It had no major hits. I am the opposite of impressed. I am disappointed in Endgame's performance. So I just
Oh
put it
yeah,
lower
same.
purely because of that.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So then, anything else to say on this in this or any of the other fights we saw today?
One thing is like reply to Pori. Deep Six, like since season 4, has always been getting big hits. That's never done much for its rankings because a big hit doesn't equal a good performance. I agree with Green in this. Deep Six was pretty low. Yeah, I mean I agree. Like how do you rank Hydra lower than Deep Six? Like what the hell is that? Hydra Deep Six is probably like bottom like 4 or 5. That is a major like downgrade, I would say. So I just have to point it out for Pori.
I mean, to be
Because
fair, Deep Six's schedule, like, I mean, it had a lot of technical issues, so it only got 2 fight night fights in its debut season,
I
and
mean, yeah,
one
but
of
both of those
its
fights were incredibly destructive fights. It still
thought it got
didn't
3.
impress much.
Yeah, it
Like,
got
yeah, but
three,
I mean,
Pory. One of them was untelevised.
Axe backwards was after the was it was an exhibition. It was after the
Oh,
competition.
okay. Gotcha.
But I mean,
maybe
if the
those
Nelly
fights,
fight had if it had 4 fights and the Nelly fight had happened 3 times, it would have made the bracket, no question.
but wouldn't have. No, like even after an Nelly fight.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah, it would have. It would.
No, it
like,
would have got
okay,
played
one-
and then
like,
lost.
after the Nelly fight, would you guys have really thought that it deserved the top 30, top 16? I don't think so. It wouldn't have. Just because it gets big hits doesn't mean it's a good robot that can contend with like top contenders.
Well, I mean, if it goes 3-1, why wouldn't it? I mean, maybe a play-in match at most,
You
at
get a
least.
If it goes
match,
3-1, but I don't see Deep Six going 3-0 here or 2-1 even. Like it's
Yeah, it's
destroyed
not.
Pain
No
Train.
shot.
Okay, Pain Train. I mean, we haven't seen much of Pain Train either. Unless it gets like two like incredibly strong wins, or even like one more really strong win against a really good robot. I mean,
It only really has to
maybe
get
like
one more win, and then it's pretty much in, I think. I mean,
maybe low. Like yeah, I mean, if it gets one more win, it's definitely top 32. But it's still not that impressive. Definitely not more impressive than bots like Hydra or Deadlift even.
yeah, true. Deep Six should have died halfway through its fight. That would have been more impressive.
Shut up, Pory.
Alright, so yeah, this will close it out for this podcast. I will thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed the first episode review. Be sure to check out everybody's channels here, as I plan to link them in the description of this video. I will see you for the next podcast.